Hunter Biden, Donald Trump, Pride Month. Lots of things that we're going to be covering today here on God and Country, episode 12. We are so thrilled that you can join us, and thank you. It's hard to believe that we're already 12 weeks in to God and Country. I have enjoyed all 11 past episodes, and I know that I'm going to enjoy today's episode as well. And it's always good to have my co-host, Mr. Reed Cooley, in studio. Mr. Reed, sir, how are you doing today?
Well, Dan, we're halfway through Pride Month, and I haven't been recruited into the enemy's cause yet, so I suppose I'm making it. How about you?
Man, I'm doing well. To be honest with you. It's been a little busy, as far as between work and church and building program and then youth conference, and my kids are at camp this week. And I mean, there's just so much going on. And but it's been good. It's been a good month. But I have to say, today being the 12th episode of God and Country, I've got to say, man, I've really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the last 11 episodes. I've enjoyed, talking about the Christian being engaged in the political arena. And I've really gotten to enjoy getting to know you better, over the last, several months.
Yeah, likewise.
And kicking off and talking. I really appreciate the opportunity, that you and Jim, have given me as far as being a part of, God and Country. And I want to say thank you, for that. It's been a lot of fun.
It has been a lot of fun, man.
Now, I will have to say, some of the emails, that I have gotten, some of them have been brutal.
I thought everybody just loved you.
Oh, man, not even, I don't think everybody even loves me that goes in my church. So I guess I can't say that. I would say 99% of them that go to my church like me. And, but man, I got some emails this past week. And of course, I think they're great. It just lets me know that I'm doing the right thing. Whenever I have, the Pride Month, the pro-Pride Month people, when I have them emailing me and hammering me, I know that I'm doing something right. Whenever I have, the pro-choice people hammering me in emails, I know that I'm doing something right. Whenever I have Joe Biden's, people emailing me, I know that I'm doing something right. And so just keep them coming. You're not going to, listen, I'm not lost 1 second of sleep over any of the emails. Matter of fact, they fuel my fire and they keep me going. But we're going to say some things today. If you thought that the last 11 have been bad, you just hold on today. We're going to say some things today that I'm sure some of you aren't going to like. It can be much worse than things that I've already said. That is truth. It is truth.
How many bits of love mail do you get every week?
Man, so every day, it varies, right? And so
you get it every day.
Every day.
Wow.
Yeah, every day. My wife can't even go on my Facebook messages because they're so bad, on there. And so she doesn't even go to messages there on my big page because of the text, the messages that I get, there. And so emails, several a day, much more on Facebook because I just had a post 3 days ago that's kind of went viral on social media. It's almost 20,000 shares. And so whenever a post is shared 20,000 times, I mean, you're literally touching, thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And so the people that, the people that are seeing that are not pro-Trump people, some of these people. And so the amount of messages that I get there, and I think there's like 15,000 comments just on that one post. And so, and most of them have to be hidden because they're and Facebook already does that automatically. So if you're getting, if somebody is cursing you on Facebook or social media, they'll automatically hide the comments so you can't see it. So I'm not complaining. I think it's great. Honestly, I really do. Whenever those people are sending the emails, whenever it just lets you know that you're hitting the target and that you're right on. And this is what we need. We need someone that is willing to say, listen, this is wrong. This is right. There needs to be somebody that's willing to say, there are two ditches here. There's a left ditch and there's a right ditch. I don't want to be in either ditch. I want to be where I'm supposed to be, preaching the message of conservatism, preaching the message of conservative values. And I don't want to get in the ditch over here and I don't want to get in the ditch over here. I want to remain steadfast for Christ and unmovable, always abounding, and so preaching the message of truth. And if somebody gets mad about it, then it's okay. If somebody doesn't like it. But I will say this, Reed, that the amount of messages that we get, that are encouraging messages way surpass the other. And so the phone calls, the text messages, the messages on social media, the emails, they surpass way more. And so a lot of people are really excited. They're thankful for God and country that someone is willing to stand up and speak truth to power and say what is right and what is wrong. And so a lot of people have really liked that. And so that's a good thing. And so that's that really does encourage, especially whenever you have people like today. I was walking around in that convention center. Somebody walked up and said, "Hey, you don't know me, but I watch your God and Country show with you and Reed." And I didn't know them at the time. And then another person came up and said, "Hey, I really appreciate you. A long time ago, I was saying some things about people running for office. This gentleman, I don't even know him, met him today for the first time. He's like, I ran for office because of, you, because of a message that you put out, about Christians engaging. He's like, I ran for office. I won. I'm now a supervisor." And so that was really unique getting that today. That happened today. And so getting those messages really.
Any of them tell you need a new co-host?
Do what?
Any of them tell you need a new co-host?
Oh man, they like you.
Oh, okay.
They
yeah.
like you.
Sure they do. Yeah.
Even with your libertarian roots.
Oh yeah.
And
lowercase L, not uppercase L.
They love that.
I'm all libertarian, not Chase Oliver.
One guy asked me if he said, "Hey man, what's that guy's name that co-hosts with you?" I said, "Mr. Reed." He said, "Does he believe in UFOs?" I was like, "Man, not only does he believe in UFOs, he has seen them." And
dude, are you serious?
Oh yeah, because of that shirt you wore.
Did you tell him that really?
No, I'm picking. Of course I did.
Okay,
I did tell him that, but I was just picking, of course. I don't know if you believe in UFOs or not. You never told me. You just wore the UFO shirt. And so my point is, I think that I know that there's a need for what we're doing. And today being the 12th episode, I think is great. And I'm back once again. Thank you for letting me, be a part of it. I really do appreciate it. And we just need to continue hitting and pushing and doing everything we can because November's coming. November's coming. And I believe that in November, we're going to see a red wave. I believe we're going to see, I believe we're going to take the House, the Senate, and the White House. I really believe that. I believe we're going to take all three. And I know some people don't believe that. Some people think that we'll potentially keep the House, probably won't take the Senate, and we'll win the White House. But I think we're going to take all three. Personally, I think we're going to sweep. I think people are getting fed up with what's happening in like New York, and people are seeing this and they're like they're seeing it for what it is. People are getting fed up, of this Pride Month being shoved down our throats every single time you turn your head around. People are getting sick and tired of this transgender garbage that these people are pushing. This agenda. People are getting sick and tired of hearing about, these schools allowing some of this, these books and some of this filth to be in some of these schools. People are starting to wake up, and I don't think it is too late. I think that, anytime you begin to wake people up, I think is good. I think it's good. So I don't think it's too late. And, but I do believe we're going to take back the House, the Senate, and the White House.
Oh, you're right. There's one thing I do like about Pride Month, believe it or not. There's one thing I like about Pride Month every year, and that's that it tells me exactly which companies I need to be boycotting, or exactly which companies or what streaming services I need to be unsubscribing from. It tells me who not to be giving my money to, right? Right now, the example that stands out to me by far the most is Disney Plus. Now, I canceled my Disney Plus subscription a long time ago, right after they fired Gina Carano, the pro-Trump actress who was on The Mandalorian, right? But there's a new Star Wars show out called The Acolyte. And I unplugged myself from all things Star Wars some time ago. But what some of the actors said who were playing on this show, it blew me away. Just how much of a mask-off moment I think it kind of was. It's called The Acolyte. I don't really know what the show is about. Like I said, I unplugged from Star Wars a few years ago because it's all captured territory at this point. The left took over Star Wars. They're turning it into just a leftist propaganda at this point. But I did see a clip.
So you was big into Star Wars?
So I have gone. I love Star Wars all throughout my childhood, all the way back to The Phantom Menace, which came out when I was in kindergarten. And I loved Star Wars as a kid. It was what I grew up watching, and as a kid, it's what I enjoyed.
I don't think I've ever watched Star Wars. Maybe just a few minutes of it.
Why am I not surprised?
Isn't there a one that looks like a big mock or
what?
Isn't there one that's like he's a brown figure? He's really big.
It looks like a big mop. Is that what you're saying?
No, like a
Jar Jar
animal.
Are you talking about Jar Jar? Oh no, you're talking about Chewie.
Chewie, yeah.
Chewbacca. Yeah, Chewbacca.
Chewbacca.
The Wookiee.
That's
yeah,
right.
Chewbacca.
Is he on Star Wars?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
I knew I was gonna
Chewbacca's a
mix
prominent and major Star Wars character. Yes.
Okay, good.
He's a Wookiee. He travels with Han Solo, right? So he's from the original trilogy. He goes all the way back to 1977. I loved Star Wars as a kid, man. And there's a part of me that still likes what Star Wars used to be, but I had to emotionally detach myself from it for reasons just like what I'm about to explain. So last week, there were two of the young female actresses who are playing in the new Star Wars series, The Acolyte. They did an interview, and these two actresses they vowed to make this new Star Wars TV series the gayest thing Star Wars has ever put out. They used those words. This will be the gayest thing Star Wars ever put out, and it didn't end there. One of those two actresses also went on the Trevor Noah show. I think Trevor Noah was on Comedy Central today. But one of these two actresses went on TV with Trevor Noah and said that making white people cry was the entire point. So, like, imagine taking out the word white and replacing it with black. Like, imagine if you and I came on God and Country and it said something as insane, as evil, as making brown people or making black people cry is the whole point. We'd rightfully be a CNN headline within the next 5 minutes. I mean, we would be dragged over the coals for it, and rightfully so. But these actresses, these stars with Disney and Star Wars and everything else the left has captured, they say stuff like this on TV loudly and proudly, and they get rewarded for it. They get to be on more shows. Meanwhile, Gina Carano got fired for being a Trump supporter. Values which she didn't even bring to the show. But another actress gets to go on TV and say that their whole goal is to make white people cry. Oh, they're allowed it for it. They just guaranteed their entire acting career for them. So, like I said, the one good thing about Pride Month is that it tells me exactly which companies I don't need to be giving any more money or any more attention to.
So somebody went on TV.
Yes. And said that the goal is to make white people cry.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so she was sitting across the desk from Trevor Noah. Okay, he's a prominent comedian. I don't think he's funny. You don't have to be funny to be a comedian.
Play basketball? Was he the one that played basketball for the Bulls?
I don't think so.
Oh.
I don't think
there was a Trevor Noah that played basketball for the Gators, and he played basketball for the Bulls.
I don't think this guy has enough talent at anything, especially not enough talent to be an NBA basketball player. He's supposed to be a comedian, but he's not funny. You don't really have to be funny to be a comedian nowadays. You just have to be sufficiently liberal, right? And then maybe you can get a career as a comedian on TV, it seems like it. But she was sitting across the desk from Trevor Noah. She said making white people cry is the whole point. Trevor Noah busted out into laughter. He thought it was just an amazing thing this girl had said. And the whole live audience sitting there in the studio just erupted into cheers and laughter because they loved it. They ate it up.
Well, you can say, yeah, the left, they can say whatever they want and it's going to be okay. They like I want to make white people cry, which honestly, to be honest with you, like I could care less what that person says. Like, it doesn't bother me any, and I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. She definitely is not going to make me cry, first off. Secondly, it just shows, that if it was a white person that said that, though, about a different race, they're going to come out guns a-blazing. Oh, I can't believe you said and try to cancel you. Just like that woman who held up that head of Trump. Remember that?
Yeah.
How foul that was. If that would have been me holding up the head of, Obama or holding up the head of Joe Biden, the world would have been lit on fire, but this evil, wicked person, can do it, and she gets away with it, and it's comedy, it's comedy, and it's funny, it's just ridiculous, and that just shows, the hypocrisy of the left, that they will allow certain things, and certain things are okay, but then other things are not okay. Like I had someone, send one of the emails that we got this past week. Was like a separation of church and state. You're a pastor of a church and you don't, here's what they said. The email was like, you're the pastor of a church and you don't pay taxes. And so you shouldn't have a say. So I emailed them back very nicely because there were so many things in there that was not right. First off, I pay taxes. And so a pastor has to pay taxes. So my church gives me a salary, and on that salary, I pay taxes just like everybody else. I pay an income tax, I pay federal tax, and I pay Social Security just like everybody else does on their income or on the money they get. Secondly, even if I did not pay taxes on that money, and I do, but even if I did not, I'm a United States of America citizen. I have the right to say whatever I want to say. I have the right to get on here and talk about whatever I want to talk about, say whatever I want to say as an American citizen. And that person and no person has the right to tell me what I can or can't say. And so it just shows, the hypocrisy. If you get a professional athlete like this kicker for the Chiefs, he goes on and talks about, conservative values and a conservative message. And boy, the world is, I can't believe he just needs to stick to kicking footballs. He doesn't need to step into the political arena. We don't want to hear what he has to say. But then he let Kelsey, get a diploma and get up on a stage and pour alcohol all over himself, and that's okay. The left accepts that. Which one's a better role model here? The kicker who is promoting good Christian values, or Travis Kelce who gets up on a stage and he dumps alcohol all over himself? Now, listen, I'm proud that the man got a diploma and graduated. I think that's good, but that's not setting a good role model. Getting up there on the platform and then dumping alcohol on yourself. But my point is, it's the hypocrisy of the left that's okay for Travis to do that, but it's not okay, for this football player to get up and talk about his conservative values. And I want to stop right here though and applaud the Chiefs, because the Chiefs organization came out and supported what this young man said as far as whenever he was speaking, at this graduation. They stood behind him. The coach did, even Travis. Travis stood behind him. Travis said, why are y'all giving, this man spoke his mind. He's just like anybody else. I might not agree with him, but he has a right to give his opinion. The quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, came out and supported him. So I do want to applaud, the Chiefs, and the Hunt family, the ownership of the Chiefs. They came out and supported, this kicker. So I want to applaud them for that. But the left, those people on that left aisle, they're just so full of hypocrites, because it's not okay for this guy to get up and talk about his conservative values or his conservative, but it's okay for Travis to get up and to do his thing. It's okay for Taylor Swift to do it, but don't you let somebody get up and start talking about their conservative Christian values, and then you just need to stick to whatever you're doing. And this, once again, I know we wasn't going this direction, but I want to mention this. Several years ago, LeBron James was coming out and talking about certain things, and I was watching even some of the people on the right. They're like, he needs to stick to basketball.
He's a complete idiot, but he still has a right to spout as much stupidity as he wants.
Absolutely. Yeah. He has a right to dribble a basketball and to talk about whatever it is he wants to talk about. He is an American citizen just like I am, and I pastor a church. I could come on here and talk about whatever I want to talk about. I work for the Public Service Commission. I could come on here and I could talk about whatever I want to talk about. Now, LeBron James, he plays basketball. He can get on and talk about whatever it is, that he wants to talk about, which is important. And the reason is because we are citizens of this great country. The left has a voice and they can use it. The right, we have a voice and we can use it. And so we just need to make sure that we're using our voice. And that's one reason why I like God and Country so much, is because we're using our voice. We're getting on here and we're talking about conservative values, the conservative message. And so I just want to say this to each and every one of you. If you haven't already shared, God and Country, I want to encourage you to do so, because that's how we get out our messages, by working together. We're in the middle of Pride Month, and it doesn't take long of scrolling social media and you see nothing but just horrible stuff, and these men, and I know that not every homosexual gay person, is for walking down the street naked in front of
right.
kids.
You can talk to some homosexual people who will say, look, they're gay, but they cannot stand what's being done to kids, right? And it's refreshing to meet people like that who still have, at least one foot in reality.
Yes. And they're anti what's happening, right? They're totally against it. I can't agree with their lifestyle,
right,
but I'm glad that at least there are some people in that community that is saying, what are we doing here? I mean, this is insane. This is just insane. I was watching someone sent me the other day, a small 15-second clip, of this parade. And I'm not even sure where the parade was at. Maybe California. It was not in Mississippi, but it was somewhere else. And there was these couple of guys, and they was walking down the street, and they was carrying a flag, their pride flag, their flag, and it was like 6 or 7 guys. It was a huge flag. 6 or 7 guys carrying this flag, and you couldn't see them. The flag was in front of them, and it was like 6 guys, and they was holding the flag like this, and so all you saw was the flag, and it was from here down all the way almost to the ground, and you couldn't see anything. You could not see them, and so they're walking like this, and the person videoing is standing over to the side, and they're panning, and you can see kids. There's a bunch of kids over there, and there's people behind these guys that are carrying this flag, and there's people behind them, and they're carrying flags, and they're throwing out stuff, and there's some people playing music and stuff like that, and then on back behind them was some floats, and you could all see this in about 15 seconds. Whenever the video pans back like this, and the video gets over here around that flag, and it looks back that way, you see that every one of those guys are completely naked.
Yeah, I had a feeling we were going to, yeah. Thank goodness I haven't seen whatever video this is, but I'm not surprised.
Reed, there was kids running up and down that street. Now, thankfully, it wasn't one child is too many. There wasn't a bunch of children. There was a few, 4 or 5, 6. One's too many. They try to make it look, oh, look at this parade. It's so family-oriented. Family-oriented. And what the news media will show, they'll just show the front of these guys carrying the flag. They'll show the kids running up and down. They'll show the people throwing the beats. They'll show the people playing the music in the background. That's all the media will show, because they can't show the truth, because the truth does not allow it to play on TV. The truth, you cannot play that 15-second clip that was sent to me. You cannot play that on TV. And the reason is because they won't allow it. They'll get in trouble, because you can't play nudity on television like that. You can't show that on WLOX or WXV. You can't put a picture like that in the Laurel Leader Call or in the Sun Herald. You can't do that, because you'll get in trouble. You cannot put pornography out. That is straight up pornography. You cannot put that out there like that. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, what are these people thinking? Not just the people marching in this parade, but who allowed this mess? Why is this happening here in the United States of America? If I go down to Jones Park in Gulfport and I strip naked and start running through that park, it's not going to be long before the police show up and I'm going to get arrested. They're going to arrest me, and they should arrest me. But you got these people marching all because it's Pride Month and it is this parade, and we're showing how proud we are, to flaunt our sin in front of the world and to flaunt our nudity in front of children. Where's the city officials at? Where are the supervisors at? Where are the moms and dads at that are not throwing a fit in the streets? Why are parents allowing their children to attend this? It's unbelievable, Reed, to see that happening.
So what do you think should be done, Dan?
So I think right then and there, the sheriff should arrest every single one of those people. Listen, they have a right to have a parade. Look, if they go get the right paperwork, they can have the right to have their parade. I'm not going to say that they can't have their parade. I'm not going to say that they can't have their parade, because if they go get their ordinance, get their permits, they can do whatever parade that they want to do. But marching down the street naked like that, every one of them should have been arrested. Right then and there. The police officers should have arrested them. The sheriffs should have arrested them. Every one of them should have been arrested. All 6 of those men walking down that street nude like that should have been arrested. Everybody in there that allowed it should have been arrested as well, for so many different reasons. And so that's what should have happened right then. They should have been arrested. Now, I hate to say this, but if I'm in charge of giving out the permit, I'd have denied the permit. There's no way that I'm going to allow that to happen. So that goes back to even that point. I remember back in Kentucky several years ago, there was 2 homosexuals went to go get married. And there was this lady that was working there. She refused to sign their...
It was Kim Davis, right?
She refused to sign their marriage license. And I applaud her. Now, I've got some different opinions on marriage when it comes to marriage. And especially when I think the state needs to get out of that. I don't think that we should have to get a marriage license from the state.
The fact that the government is so involved in it accounts for so many of our problems with marriage right now.
I agree, and the state shouldn't be in that business anyway. But I applaud this lady for saying, no, I'm not going to give. First off, that's not even marriage. 2 men, that's not even marriage. 2 women, that's not marriage. Marriage is 1 man, 1 woman. That's how God ordained it from the beginning.
With the openness to procreation.
And so my point is, whenever this lady said no, she had that right to say no. If someone comes to my church and wants me to marry them, and there's 2 gay guys or 2 women, I'm not going to do it. You say, well, they're going to take your license away. Take it away. I'm not going to do it. We'll shut the church down before I start doing that mess. The church ceases to be the church at that point.
Yes.
You're no longer the church. You have so many different, the Methodist church ordaining, homosexual. I was watching some of their stuff whenever they were having their conference. You had people getting up there saying, we, they, thou, them. That's how they were. These are my pronouns. I'm like, what is this mess? And you want to call yourself the church? Listen to me very carefully, those of you that attend a Methodist church. If I was you, I'd be screaming from the rooftop that that's garbage and straight out of the very pit of hell. I would not have any part of that. The church ceases to be the church whenever you start allowing all of that to happen. And so my point is, you need to break away from that mess. You need to find you a real church. Whenever the church is up there and they're allowing that to happen, that is not the church. And so if you come to me and your 2 men want to get married, it ain't happening. There was a baker, that they pretty much lost their bakery because they refused to do a cake for 2 homosexuals. They have that right. Just like a baker has the right to refuse to making a cake for a man and woman.
America was built on the idea of voluntary association. You can choose to associate or disassociate with other people freely, right, as you choose. Alexander de Tocqueville talked about this extensively. He talked about how the voluntary association was something that was so unique to the American experiment in the early decades of our country's history. And now we've turned our back on that principle to such an extent that now, just like you said, if a person, a private business owner, like for example, a baker, does not want to associate with potential customers, meaning to make their cake, he might very well have his life ruined, not just his business taken away, but his life and his reputation ruined well beyond that point. So there are just so many early American principles that we've completely turned our back on. And the basic principle of the voluntary association, right, is most certainly among them.
If you go to a baker and you're 2 gay guys and that baker says, no, I'm not going to do the cake.
Just go to another baker.
Go to another baker.
It's that easy.
That easy. That easy. If my wife and I got married 17 years ago.
Wow.
And coming up on 18. August 12th will be 18 years. We went to our baker. And
you didn't order a same-sex cake, did you?
We did not.
Okay.
But they did our cake. My cake was Krispy Kreme donuts. They built a pyramid out of Krispy Kreme donuts, and that was my cake.
What kind of donuts?
Looks like you've been sleeping well.
Megan, he's back. The My Pillow guy.
And you're looking good.
Still feeling good.
Well, just when you thought it couldn't get any better, we've got the best pillow ever, My Pillow 2.0.
Wow, it's so soft and smooth.
It's cool to the touch. How did you do that?
Well, we took My Pillow's patented fill and combined it with this new technology that we didn't have back then when I invented My Pillow to bring you the best pillow in history, My Pillow 2.0. Just like all of you, I never imagined that My Pillow could get any better. That's why I haven't changed it in nearly 20 years. Then I heard about a revolutionary new technology, and I knew I had to bring it to you all. My Pillow 2.0 is truly the next generation of My Pillow.
The My Pillow 2.0 is cooler and softer than the last My Pillow. It is so comfortable to sleep on at night. I look forward to going to bed, and I wake up well rested in the morning.
Sleep is all about temperature and height. My Pillow 2.0's patented adjustable fill is going to give you the exact individual support you need from your head to your bed. And now here's where it gets even better. We've all experienced those temperature-related sleep interruptions where you get too hot, you toss and turn, you flip your pillow over to the cool side. Well, all that's gone with my brand new MyPillow 2.0 cooling fabric that's made with temperature regulating thread.
The best sleep just got even better. Whether you have a MyPillow or not, you need to get the brand new MyPillow 2.0. Call or go to MyPillow.com now. Use your promo code, and for a limited time when you buy one, you'll get a second one absolutely free.
You're sleeping even better.
And cooler, too.
And you're looking good.
Feeling good.
I knew you would.
Visit mypillow.com.
Glazed.
Glazed, okay.
Yeah.
Chocolate covered cream filled would be the way to go.
Yeah. My point is that baker could have said, nah, we don't do weddings like that. She has that right. And you know what I would have done? I would have went to another baker. I would have said, really? Y'all don't do cakes for a man and woman wedding? Like, no, we don't do them. Okay, fine. I'll go to another baker. I'll take my business somewhere else. And so it goes back to, we live in America, and you have a right, or you should have a right, to refuse to do a wedding. You should have a right to refuse to bake a cake. You should have the right to refuse service to someone. Me and my son was driving down the road, and we went to this store up on Highway 49, and on the store it had no shoes, no shirt, no service. It also had no hoodies were allowed in this store. And my son asked a question. He said, how can that store refuse service like that? How can they say no shoes, no shirt, no service? How can they say no hoodies allowed? I said, well, son, we live in the United States of America. That store is a private store. They have the right to refuse service to whoever they want to. If they say that you can't come in their store without shoes on, then put on shoes or go to another store. If they say that you can't come in there without a shirt on, then either put on a shirt or go to another store. If they say that you can't wear your hoodies in there, well, when you go in there, don't wear your hoodie. And so that is the rules of that store. And if you want to go to that store, then you have to abide by that store. And that should go into every area of our life. If you want to come to America, abide by the laws of America. If you want to come here. So my point goes back to, whenever you get into Pride Month, these people are not going to stop until they shut down every single thing like God and Country, every single show like God and Country. They're doing everything they can to cancel Tucker Carlson. They're doing everything they can to cancel men and women that are standing for our conservative cause. They get mad and they start hollering and screaming about it. They don't like the fact that I said that grown men shouldn't be walking down the street naked. Well, you shouldn't be. What kind of pervert are you that you're going to walk down the street naked in front of a bunch of kids that you don't even know? I have 5 children. Man, I don't even walk in front of my children without a shirt on, and they're my children. I make sure when I come out and my children are here, I make sure that I am dressed and that I have on a shirt, that I have on either shorts or pants. I don't come walking out here undressed in front of my children. I have 3 little girls and I have 2 boys. I just cannot even fathom, coming out undressed in front of them. That does not even compute to me up here. And to go walking down the street naked in front of little boys and girls, that doesn't even compute up here. Those guys, they're long gone. You're talking about perverts, mental issues. I have to get stopped.
So what do we need on a larger cultural level then, Dan?
What do you mean?
Well, so I asked you a few minutes ago, what should have been done in the specific instance of that parade? And you gave a very good answer, in my opinion. I agree with you 100%. The sheriff should have arrested all those men naked in that parade, and the permit should have never been given in the first place. I totally agree with all of that. But I guess I want to address that same question more macroscopically, or on a larger level now. What should be done on a larger cultural level, and how do we do it? Does it happen by people just like me and you starting shows like God and Country and engaging the culture? Does it consist of some other kind of approach, like a grassroots politics approach? We can't really abandon the culture altogether. So what's your proposed solution as to how we confront stuff like that in the political arena? So
I think you have to hit it from every angle. But the first thing you have to have is you have to have people that are willing to obey the law. You have to have police officers that are willing to enforce the law. I guarantee that, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to go find that where that county was. I guarantee that they have laws on the books against nudity. I guarantee that you cannot go walking down the street any other day of the week in that county or in that city naked in front of the whole world. And so if you start applying the law that nudity in open public is wrong and you will be arrested, and you start arresting people, if those 6 men would have gotten arrested and that parade shut down, the next parade, there are going to be a lot of people, you know what, I was going to walk naked down the street, but I'm not going to anymore because in this other county over here, they arrested them. And so if you let that start happening, you'll see a lot of this stuff start shutting down. So then it goes back even a step further. If you have sheriffs that don't want to apply the law, well, then vote that knucklehead out. Vote that sheriff out. Put a sheriff in there that obey the law of the land. And so it goes back to grassroots. It goes back to messaging. It goes back to people engaging and people getting involved. And so whatever county that is, you find out whatever county that is, ask the sheriff point blank, how come you didn't shut it down? How come you're letting grown men walk through the streets naked in our city in front of children? And if that sheriff doesn't have a good answer, or if, in my opinion, it's already too late, maybe he didn't know what's happening. I don't see how that's even possible, but maybe, I don't know. But vote him out. Put somebody in there that's going to obey the law of the land. You start putting in good sheriffs, I guarantee, Reed, that if that were to happen in Harrison County, I guarantee it, that parade would have been shut down.
See, you remind me of something else that I saw last week, which maybe disturbs me even more. This was a specific instance in the state of Oregon, of all places. So this wasn't as a part of a parade. There was a naked man walking through the neighborhood, walking through a particular neighborhood there in the state of Oregon, and he walked on to another person's property while this man's little boy was out in the front yard playing. And so this little kid is in the front yard playing, and a naked man walks onto his property, trespasses on his property, and starts talking to that little boy. Well, what did the father do? The father obviously confronted him, right, as he should have done, and he called the police. The police arrived, and the police officer explained to that father on camera, "Sir, I can't arrest him because he hasn't really broken the law." And the father said, "What do you mean he hasn't broken the law? He walked onto my property and he was butt naked and he started talking to my kid. Why hasn't he broken the law?" And the police officer just gave one of the worst answers I've ever heard to any question ever. He said, "Well, unless it's done for the purpose of sexual stimulation or sexual gratification, then walking around naked in public isn't really breaking the law." And I was shocked. I pulled the phone away from my face for a second, and I thought, perverts, presumably pedophiles, can walk around neighborhoods, at least in the state of Oregon, walk onto your property and start talking to your little kid while you're standing there butt naked, and the cops won't even do anything about it. Like, what are they thinking up in the state of Oregon? What kind of other laws do they have on the books that apparently allow for this? And if there aren't some of the kind of laws that's somehow allow for that, then why aren't the police officers, or at least this one police officer, enforcing laws against public nudity, trespassing, things which we all understand to be crimes?
Reed, I don't have it. It's unbelievable.
Yep.
That some of that's happening and going around. It goes back to the Christian being engaged and know what's happening and know what's going on, and engaging in this corrupt world. Unfortunately, there's corruptness everywhere. And so many Christians have been asleep way too long at the wheel, and they haven't engaged and been involved. And when that happens, we have situations like this. You know, there's situations like this happening all over our country, and it's because the church has been silenced. You see, the church has to get outside of those 4 walls. You know, I'm all about attending church. I attend church often. I think the church ought to meet. I think the church ought to come together. But the church has to get outside of those 4 walls. We have to get into the communities. We have to get in. We have to be going down the streets and going door to door and talking to people individually, and getting engaged in every area, engaging in the schools, engaging, you know, in our city halls, engaging in the courthouses, engaging in the capitals, engaging in DC. Christians engaging in what's happening and know what's going on. And whenever you have corrupt men and women in office, and there are quite a few corrupt men and women in office, well, whenever you have that, you put good people in. You work and you vote them out and you put good people in. And I guarantee that if, whatever this was at in Oregon, if they had a good sheriff or a good chief of police, this police officer or this sheriff would have been fired almost immediately, because nowhere should anyone be allowed to come up on your property naked and confront your children and that be okay. and that not be an arrestable offense. That man should have been arrested. And so I guarantee if something like that happens in this county, that man's going to be arrested, because I know the sheriff, and we're not going to tolerate that here in Mississippi. And so all I can say to the people in Oregon and the people in California is the Christian has been asleep way too long, and it's about time you wake up and let's get to work and get rid of some of these people. And the church has to engage. The church, Reed, one of the things that I get all the time from people as well is, some of these pastors, telling me that we shouldn't be involved in the political arena at all.
Really?
Our focus on...
You've had pastors tell you that Christians should be more or less withdrawn. And
yes.
I guess that maybe their justification for it is that we're to be in the world, not of the world, and political engagement is a form of being of the world.
We're just passing through. We're only here for a short time. And I hear...
Still here for a reason.
Correct. I hear so much of that. And, and the only thing I can say to that, is I'm not going to back off. We're going to keep pushing, and we're going to keep working to do all that we can to get people to engage in this arena, because the Bible talks about when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. That's what the Bible says. So in order for the righteous to be in authority, Read, a couple things has to happen. Number one, the righteous have to run for office. That's common sense. The Bible says that the people rejoice when the righteous are in rule. So in order for a righteous person to win office, they have to run for office. Second thing, in order for a righteous person to win, righteous people have to support them. Righteous people have to engage. Righteous people have to give money. Righteous people have to knock on doors. Righteous people have to make their voices be heard. And if you just bury your head in the sand and say everything's just going to be okay, everything is not going to be okay.
Can you think of any righteous people in office today, whether in the U.S. or anywhere else in the world?
Yeah, I think we have some good people that are doing everything that they can to vote according to the Word of God. I think about Kathy Chisholm. I think she's a good woman. I think she is strong. And I believe that she reads her Bible. I believe that she prays. I believe that she gets with God. I believe that she is doing what she can, to make good biblical decisions. So I think Kathy is one. I think that Dan Eubanks is one. I think Dan Eubanks does what he can to make good decisions. I believe he prays, about his decisions. I believe that Nathan Baird is one. I believe that he prays about decisions, and I believe that he's engaged. I believe that Wayne Carr, I believe that he is one. I believe that he is doing the best that he can, to make good, decisions that whenever it comes to voting and making right decisions. I think that Chris Brown is one. And I can name a lot of others. I think Michael Watson is one. I think that Shad White is one. I think there's a lot of them that are they perfect? No. Do they vote how I would want them to vote on every single issue? No. But do I think that they have good families? And do I think that they go to church? And do I think that they read their Bible and pray and are trying to walk with God to the best of their ability? Absolutely. And I believe there's a lot like that. I think that we have some in D.C., that are that way. I was
going to ask about that. Does it seem like it's harder to find righteous people in office the higher up in government they go? Because that's more or less my inclination, is that on the local level, you can find, a lot of like God-fearing Christian people sitting in public office, especially in places like Mississippi. But higher up in office, Congress or president, something like that, it gets harder to find.
So people might disagree with me on this, but I've been with Mike Ezell many times. I've had prayer with Mike Ezell multiple times. And he and I text back and forth. And, I think Mike Ezell is one to where is he perfect? No. Is every vote he going to make a vote that I would have made? Probably not. But do I think that he walks with God and prays and tries to do the best of his ability? Yes. Do I think that he has weak moments from time to time? Absolutely. Do I? Yes, I have weak moments. I think Michael Guest is one. I think that Michael Guest, tries to do the best that he can, whenever it comes to his walk, with the Lord. And so is he and I, would we have voted the same on every issue? No. But do I think that he's trying to walk with God? Do I think that he's attending church and doing the best that he can? Absolutely. And I think there's a lot more like that in D.C. And I think that there are some that we don't even know that are there that are doing that they're not in the spotlight. They're not going to be on CNN. They're not going to be on Fox News, but they're going to be in their office and they're going to be working. I cannot tell you how many congressmen's offices that I have been in. And they have the Word of God sitting on their desk. And when we have prayer together and they get on their knees, and I have seen some grown men weep and cry begging God for this nation. Yeah, I'm thinking about Tim Scott. I'll never forget the first time that I met Tim Scott. I was in D.C. We was in the Capitol. We were in the big Capitol room. And Tim Scott, I was sitting on the front row, and Tim Scott came in there and he had his Bible. And he began to talk about his grandma and how his grandma gave him that Bible. Tim Scott began to weep and cry. Tim Scott got on his knees inside this room full of hundreds of people and began to pray and beg God for our nation. I'll never forget that. I'll never forget the time that the same room, Mike Pence was in there. And I know a lot of people got mad at Mike Pence, because of January, and I get it. But I watched that man get on his knees and pray and beg God for this nation. And I cannot tell you how many others I have seen do the exact same thing. Are they perfect men and women? No. But are they men that I believe that love God? Yes. They go to church, they try to read their Bible, they try to pray, they try to walk with God, they try to be the best Christian that they can be. Do I think that we have men and women like that in D.C.? Absolutely. I've met them. I know them. I've been in their office. I've watched them beg God for our country. I've seen them cry and ask God to send a revival. And more than once, with many of these men and women on multiple occasions. So my point goes back to, we could have a lot more if we'd have a lot more Christians engaging.
Now, you think those type people, and I don't doubt what you're saying, but you think those type people are outnumbered, needless to say, right? So
outnumbered? Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. There's
10 to 1.
10 to 1.
20 to 1.
20 to 1.
Hang on. How many of them are up there? 535?
Yep. Of course, the House and Senate.
Yeah, probably 20 to 1.
Wow.
But we would have more.
I'm glad to hear that there are as many as you say there are.
There are. Are they perfect? No, they're not perfect. But man, they're good people. They're good people, and they're doing the best that they can.
So let me ask you this, though. I don't want you to name names, but have you ever met any of those type people in public office, Congress, wherever else, who you got the feeling they were just doing it as a show? Like they kept the Bible on their desk and they prayed with you and they wept because it was all theater. Maybe they were fake about it. Have you ever met those type people in office?
Absolutely. I'm not going to name them, but I know some where they play the Christian card and they're out getting drunk and they're out committing adultery and they're out, just fornicating. Yes, absolutely. And I know there's been several like that, to where they play the Christian card well, but then as soon as you get away from them, you wouldn't know that they was a Christian, because of how they were living their life. So yes, I do know some that would do that, but the ones that I'm talking about, and no, some of these guys in DC,
like you can feel it when you're in the room with them.
Absolutely, because I was walking down the hall in Rayburn. I think it was Rayburn, and I was walking in the hall. I text Michael Guest. I put a picture on Facebook. I was in DC. I didn't tell anybody I was going to DC. I was going there for a meeting. I was going to be there for like 36 hours. I just flew up, was flying right back home. I put a picture on social media. Michael Guest texts me, "Where are you at?" And I told him where I was at. He said, "I'm walking here. Meet me here." So I'm walking down. So I ran over there real quick. I'm walking down the hallway. He's walking down the hallway. He's headed to a meeting at the Capitol. I'm headed back to a meeting, at another spot. We meet. We're in the middle of all of these people everywhere. It's me and Dr. Chuck Harding. It's Michael Guest and his chief of staff. And while we're there, Congressman Guest goes, "Hey, before we go, can y'all have a word of prayer with me?" And right there, in the middle of everybody, we're there, our heads bowed, we're crying out to God, asking God to help us. My point is, there are some that they are bold about it. They are bold and out front about their faith. And I'm thankful for those people. That goes back to the Christian. There would be more if more of us would get engaged and get involved. It's a lot easier to accomplish good when you have a lot more people working to accomplish good. So if you've got 100 people trying to accomplish good, you're going to get 100 worth of good. But if you've got 2 or 3 people trying to accomplish good, well, then you're going to have 2 or 3 worth of good. And so that goes back to that. We just need more people. We need more Christians to pick up.
More righteous people running for office.
Absolutely. Or not maybe more righteous people running for office, but more righteous people engaged. engage.
And to be clear,
and know what's happening.
that could look like running for office, but it could look like working as a chief of staff or a communications director or something like that for someone else in office.
Correct.
A good bit of advice there, because a lot of those people you're talking about, these members of Congress who are outspoken about their faith, they're in a snake pit, man.
They are.
As soon as they take office, I mean, the snakes are coming. So
They are.
they need a couple of other good Christians around them working in their office, giving them good, sound advice about how to navigate the snake pit, right? Would you
Absolutely. 100%. And Reed, it also looks like this, writing them a letter, encouraging them. It also can look like this, making a phone call, calling their staff and telling their staff, hey, I want you to know I don't need anything, but you let the congressman know that I'm praying for him today. Sending him a text message, I don't need nothing, but I want you to know today that I'm praying for you. Sending the governor a message, look, I don't need nothing, but I want you to know that I'm praying for you today. It could look like attending a political event. June 11th, July 11th, we're going to have a big Trump rally down here on the coast. Attend the Trump rally, be there, come to it. And that's part of that engagement. Go to your church and get people engaged as far as voting, going and voting. That's part of that engagement. So there's so many things that you can do. Sharing Facebook posts, sharing this show, with your friends and your family. That is part of that political engagement. There are so many things that we can do. Unfortunately, a lot of people have bit into this lie that in order to make any type of good, I have to have a lot of money. That ain't true. Sharing a Facebook post helps. Sending a text message encouraging someone
It
helps.
costs $0.
Listen, even if you don't agree with them every single time, that's one of my holdups that I have with a lot of our strong conservatives. And I don't want to make any of you mad, but let me just say this. All because you have a disagreement with someone does not mean, number one, that you write them off. And number two, it doesn't mean that you don't pray for them. And number three, it doesn't mean that you don't attend events where they're at and you try to talk with them. If you just completely shut them out and have nothing to do with them, let me ask you a question. How much influence are you going to have?
Zero.
Zero.
If you don't learn to not just punish people when they do wrong, meaning like punish your elected representatives when they do wrong, but reward them when they do right, you're not going to get very far.
Absolutely.
Your ideas aren't going to get anywhere.
Absolutely. I was having a conversation with a guy. I had lunch with a couple guys a couple months back now, and we were leaving. And I said to one of the gentlemen, I said, listen, we can't always just hammer our elected officials whenever they do something that we don't like. I see them constantly hammering these guys. They made a bad vote on social media, blah, blah, hammering them. Well, if you're going to hammer them for making a bad vote, then praise them for making a good vote.
Yes, carrot and stick.
Absolutely. And so many times, you cannot, I don't think you can go back on my social media. Well, you could last election cycle, but you really can't find too many people. There might have been one or two people that have really hammered on social media, but you can't really find much more than that where I have hammered individuals. If one of my elected officials, if there's a vote that I really want him to take, I'm not getting on social media. I'm going to call them directly. I'm going to go sit down with them in their office directly. Look at them face to face. They love that. They love to have a conversation with you. At least most of the ones that I know. 99%.
Most of the ones I know don't.
Well,
I'd love to know what elected representatives you're meeting who love talking to their voters.
I need to introduce you to these people because, the ones that I know, we have a good relationship. Do we agree on every issue? No. But Reed, you and I don't agree on every issue. And we've been doing this show now for 3 times and we've not had one knockdown, drag out fight yet. And we disagree on, like you like Star Wars. And you like, what's that other show you want me to watch?
It's a book series, man. The Lord of the Rings.
Oh, I thought it was a movie.
Well, it became 3 movies later.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
and the way you were talking 20 minutes ago about how we're put on this earth for a reason to fight and engage the arena, that makes me realize you would love The Lord of the Rings, man. I don't want to spoil too much, but deep down, that's actually what it's all about. It's Tolkien's theology about man's purpose on earth transposed into high fantasy. You'd love it, dude.
Well, one day, I'll sit down and one day I'll sit down and maybe read a chapter of the book or watch a few minutes of it. But my point is, it goes back to, listen, if you want to hammer them, fine, hammer them. Whatever floats your boat. But if you hammer them for a bad vote, then praise them for a good vote. Because if you don't, then you're just like the left. You're a hypocrite in my eyes.
Yep.
You know, you want to be this big, strong conservative on social media, and you're going to hammer whenever they make a bad vote. But when they make a good vote, you're silent. It's crickets. In my opinion, that's wrong. That's wrong.
You remember the people during Trump's first term in office, they were Republicans, and they would completely write Trump off because they disagreed with him on one or two policy areas. He supported one bad piece of legislation, and then suddenly they were anti-Trump. The example that stands out to me is like he supported red flag laws at the behest of Lindsey Graham and Dan Crenshaw. I can't stand red flag laws. I think that was one of Trump's major policy mistakes. I'm still pro-Trump. I'm still going to back Trump. I'm still going to enthusiastically vote for him in November and do whatever I can in the meantime to get him elected because he is by far the best option our country has for the office of the president, right? But I've seen these other numbskulls who Trump does one or two bad things they dislike on policy, and suddenly they're anti-Trump. Suddenly they're ready to throw Trump out completely. They're ready to throw in their lot with any other Republican they can get their hands on because of one or two policy differences. And if that's how you engage the political arena, once again, you're just not going to make it very far.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's where a lot of people are at on both sides, really. You know, we're gonna throw the baby out with the bathwater. You know, we're just gonna get rid of everything. Now, there are some policy issues
Like abortion.
Yes, there's no ifs, ands, buts about it.
Right.
Right. We're not going to waver.
If a politician is pro-choice, I mean, to me, that signals a lack of judgment that is going to contaminate their positions on so many other areas, right? So pro-choice is one of those issues that is a little bit of a deal breaker for me.
Yeah. And so when it comes to Second Amendment, First Amendment, when it comes to the Constitution, there's some things that are unwavering, and we're not going to back off on. You know, we're not going to move on some of these issues. And I don't even like some of our Republicans moving on some of these issues as well. I mean, we just cannot move on certain things. Even whenever it comes to getting Trump elected, you know, in November, we can't move on that. We have to push forward, and we need to get him, you know, reelected. And so coming back full circle, you know, back to this Hunter Biden thing, and I know we don't have much time left, but coming back to this Hunter Biden thing, whenever it comes to this charge that came down, you know, this felony charges against Biden, and the judge found him, you know, guilty. All that's just a way so that they could try to say, see, it's working for both sides.
Yep.
You know, it works for Trump. You know, we're not showing favoritism. It works for Trump, and then it also works, you know, for here Hunter Biden is getting.
Yeah, they're trying to legitimize Trump's conviction, is what you're saying, right?
Absolutely.
Well, there's no way Biden's DOJ is corrupt or one-sided because even the president's son just got convicted, right? So yeah, that's what it's all about. This is a smokescreen designed to legitimize Trump's conviction, so to speak, at least in the eyes of those moderate, undecided voters, right?
Yeah. And so that's all they're trying to do at the end of the day, is trying to legitimize. I mean, they're just